Massachusetts, but they are deteriorating and are increasingly unlivable, letting this incredible resource waste away. My day job is as a school psychologist. I have seen many children's education negatively impacted by homelessness, with frequent absences and multiple school changes within a single year, resulting in school failure and children just giving up on school. Even more frequently, I've seen children impacted by their family's housing insecurity. Parents' anxieties about whether they can afford to stay in their homes and what sacrifices they need to make to do so impact children in all communities. Hi, thank you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Happy to have you. With so much stress in the home, children internalize the anxiety, which impacts their ability to attend and learn at school, as well as their ability to connect with peers. Children are suffering because of the Massachusetts housing crisis, and their education is suffering, and their future success is limited. We need to do something. It's because stable housing is so critical to our children and their families and loved ones that I am here pushing for housing justice. But there are so many stories. How many people here have been impacted or had a loved one impacted by unstable or unaffordable housing? It affects us all. We are very fortunate to have our state representatives here with us today. Woo-hoo! State Senator Mike Rush, we did actually plan this event around his schedule. Unfortunately, he is currently in a session, which it sounds like will be going all night. And so he is unfortunately not able to be here. But we really, really want to meet with him anyway, don't we? Yes. And so we will. And so we will. Let's see. I'm going to give each of you maybe a minute to just introduce yourselves. We're super happy to have you here. We really appreciate you coming and listening to the concerns of our community. You'll each have 1 minute. Hold on. You each have 1 minute to introduce yourselves. Okay.
I'm not sure we've ever been able to do anything for 1 minute as legislators, but I certainly will do my best. Just very quickly, good evening, everybody. So thrilled to be here. State Representative Rob Consalvo, proudly representing 14th Suffolk District, which is Hyde Park, parts of Rosendale, Reedville, and parts of West Roxbury. And want to just say thank you to GBIO. I've worked with for many years. You and I have worked together in many different capacities for many years. As my time as a Boston City Councilor, I was proud to serve as the City Councilor for District 5 for 13 years, and also as an aide in the legislature and on the staff of Senator Kennedy, where I had my first start in government. GBIO and I go way back. And thrilled to be here today as a member of the Housing Committee of the House of Representatives. Made housing a top priority as my first 2 terms in the House. Thrilled to be part of a body serving with these 2 gentlemen that has, in the last 3 years, done more in terms of affordable housing in our budget. And we say a budget is where our priorities are. It's a budget that we've done over time in the last 3 years that has put more money into things like RAFT and MRVP and other affordable housing things. So thrilled to continue to have this discussion and thrilled to continue to work with all of you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your work with us. Thank
All right,
you.
good evening, everyone. My name is Paul McMurtry, the state representative from the towns of Dedham, Westwood, and Walpole. I was first elected into the legislature in 2007, and like my colleague Rob just mentioned, I have the pleasure of working with 2 incredible individuals. And also, I know Senator Rush is not here. His staff is here, and the 3 of us do afford an incredible relationship with Senator Rush, where we talk to him daily, and I know he tried hard to be here. And this is the life of a legislator. It's uncertain whether or not we're in session, what day it's in session. So, but I certainly appreciate Dr. Kaplan extending an invitation. This is my first GBIO meeting. I look forward to listening and learning. Just on my walk down, talking and engaging with a few people, I said, I think you already have won me over. So I appreciate this opportunity. I look forward to an evening of enlightenment and advocacy and awareness. Thank you.
Thank you.
He got more time.
I am the new representative in the 10th Suffolk District that represents West Roxbury, Rosendale, parts of JP, and Brookline. My name is Bill McGregor. I was actually just elected in June, or sworn in June.
Yay.
And thank you. So I'm still trying to figure everything out. I actually worked with Representative Consalvo in the City Council. I was over there working for City Councilor Matt O'Malley for 10 and a half years, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys and just hearing everything that you have. So this is obviously my first meeting as well, and this is actually the first time I've had a chance to sit on a couch for a meeting. So this is actually pretty good.
Well, thank you.
Oh, and I also, my aide Michael spoke with Senator Rush on the way here, and he apologizes. He really wanted to be here, and I know we booked it around his schedule. So just want to reiterate that he feels bad that he's not here.
Thank you.
And just 2 seconds of context on why the senator's not here. I appreciate everyone saying it, but last week the House voted on a $250 million package to support the migrants who are coming to Massachusetts, which will get us through to hopefully March or April. The Senate is taking that package up tonight, and they have amendments, and hopefully they'll pass it tonight. We'll be back to the House and Senate for final passage in the coming days. So that's why he's not here. He can't control that Senate schedule.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a good reason. Okay, but we do still want to meet with him. So thank you to all of you. Welcome to GBIO for those of you who haven't been here before. And Rob, thank you for coming back and being part of our process here. We really appreciate it. We trust that you can all help us to address these issues around the housing crisis that are so important to us. Please know that we're all here representing our respective congregations and organizations, which include Hyde Park Seventh-day Adventist, Temple Hillel B'nai Torah, Church of the Covenant, Old South Church, Temple Israel, Bethel AME, Temple Sinai, Congregation Dorshite Tzedek, Union Church of Waben, St. Paul's Episcopal Church, Paulist Center, Temple Beth Zion, Union Capital Boston, UCC Norwell, Reservoir Church, Masjid Al-Quran, Moshe Kovad House, and Wellesley Friends Meeting. Did I miss any? Okay. So to give you all a sense of what is to come this evening, we will lay out our asks. For each ask, members of our community have generously offered to share personal stories that illustrate why these asks are so vital. Their stories are important, but they are not unique. They are examples of what many, many people in our communities are facing. We will ask you for a yes or no response to indicate whether you will agree to actively support each ask. We understand that legislation evolves and that the specifics may change. However, we do ask that you agree to do what you can to support the asks as we present them. We have a lot of material to cover in a short time, and GBIO values your time as well as that of our members. So although there is much to be said, Barbara will help us to keep to tight time limits. Thank you. Oh, Deborah. Yes, sorry, Deborah will help us to keep to tight time limits. If you want to take 1 minute, well, you already took your minute, sorry. Thank you for coming to hear our concerns. We hope that you will take them seriously and do everything in your power to ensure that they move forward in the legislature. We do have a small gift for you.
Hopefully it's under $50.
Yeah, it is. Wait, one more. This is a small gift that...
I thought I was being left out here.
that is to thank you for coming, but it's also as a small reminder of what issues are really important to us. A reminder that we'll be asking for a yes-no commitment for each issue. Audience members are encouraged to take out their scorecards with yes or no and take notes on the yeses and the nos that we get as we build a block for housing justice. We're going to start with affordable housing, including the real estate transfer fee, as well as public housing. We will then move on to some housing needs that specifically impact our community members who are returning from incarceration. First, And now I will pass it on to Hyacinth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elena. And thank you to our representative who are here tonight. Good night, everyone. Are you happy to be here tonight? Yes. Amen. Well, all right. Good night. My name is Hyacinth Clark. I am a member of the Hyde Park Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I'm also a member of GBIO. GBIO, okay? I have lived in Hyde Park for over 20 years, and I'm a constituent of Representative Rob Consalvo, yeah?
We go way back.
Yeah.
We go way back.
And Senator, we go way back. And Senator Rush, unfortunately, is not here, but we will meet with him sometime. Now, I have worked in the community from the community service department in my church for many years. I love serving people, and I love my community. However, we have a housing emergency in our community, and this is where no one is able to buy or rent affordable housing no more. The housing cost is so high. Our children, my rep, cannot afford to live in the community that they grew up in. This has affected many families here in our community and right here in the Hyde Park Church. Am I telling the truth? Yes. Okay. This matter of unaffordable housing for your constituents is getting out of control and must be addressed immediately. It's a serious situation. Families are being affected. Tonight, we are asking our legislators to pass the housing bond bill. This one action tonight will help to take care of two very important housing issues: affordable housing and public housing. This bill will afford more families to own their home for the first time, be able to maintain them and live and stay in them, live in their homes. Because a lot of time people get their homes and they can't afford to keep them because of cost. Okay. Also, public housing. This bill will help public housing such as the Mildred C. Ailey, the Brookline housing, the West Broadway housing, and our own Fairmount house right here in Hyde Park, right, needs some work. And so this bill would help to properly maintain and give people a decent and a proper place to live. A place without mold, rodents, roaches, just to name a few of the plagues that plagued these public housing. People need a decent place to live. Most of all, and so right now, we are going to deal with affordable housing. And at this time, I would like to introduce Omar, who will share his story about affordable housing. Thank you. Omar.
Good afternoon. My name is Omar Wilder. I'm a resident of Hyde Park. I'm a professional chef. I have been living in Hyde Park for about 10 years. Recently moved away for like a year. I came back and they increased the rent by 50%. So from $1,000 a month to $1,500 a month. Now, that money I was using to save up to buy some property. I have no more money anymore. And even if I did find a place, they're not affordable. It's like how far we're in places that we actually can afford, and then we're being pushed out of the places that we can actually afford. That's wrong. You should. This is where you were born, and most of the places where you were born and raised, your family's at, your church is at, and you're being pushed out. Why? Because they can. But we're here to say we can't, they can't. Enough is enough. We have to stand up. This is wrong. Like, you can't leave nothing for your family? I was born and raised in this country. I have nothing. I own nothing. I've been working since I was 17 years old, full time. But yet I can't afford to buy anything in my own country. No help. No rescue package for me. What about my family? What about our generational wealth? How is that possible? I make decent money, but I don't make enough to afford a $300,000 condo, house, anything. Never asked the government for nothing. Now I'm asking.
That's good.
Good?
Thank you, Amar, for sharing that story. It's a sad and a hard story, but it's a story that is very popular with many families here in our community. Families after been moving as far as Rhode Island, leaving their families behind, and friends, their support system. This is not good for families. Like you said, you was born here, but you cannot afford nothing in your own community. So that's why we need more funding, my reps, for affordable housing. That's why we want to have a real estate transfer fee. Now listen to this. This transfer fee is only 2% of a sale of a property of $2 million. Come on, do the math. So, all right? So this money will go into a trust to be used to build affordable housing. This will make a big difference. And guess what, senators, reps? This is in the transfer fee, all right? This big difference. And guess what? This transfer fee is also in the bond bill. So it's already in there. We believe the investors can afford to pay a little more so the whole community can thrive and be a better place for everyone to live. Legislators, we need to get this done. Remember, everyone deserve a home. We will now hear about public housing, and Carlos will share his story.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Thank you so much, Sister Hyacinth, for everything that you do. Thank you. And good evening. Thank you for being here. And thank you to the Hyde Park Seventh-day Adventist Church for hosting our housing justice campaign. My name is Carlos Tamajo. I'm a first-generation college graduate, a Brookline Town Meeting member, and a public housing tenant leader with GBIO. We at GBIO believe in the universal human right that everyone deserves a safe, healthy home. I may not be a constituent, but I represent over 1,245 others in your districts who live in state-funded public housing, just like I do. My experience is the experience of many of your people. When I think about my public housing journey, I go back to a cold December night in December of 2003. My mom and I had just landed in Boston after moving from Columbia and leaving our family behind. That night, the people who were supposed to pick us up and take us in while we found an apartment turned off their phones. With nowhere to go and no English, We stayed in a hotel until a friend of a friend was able to take us in days later. Then that place became our home from December of '03 to May of '04. But unfortunately, we did not feel safe for a very long time. We endured a lot. In 2005, my mom submitted an application for the Brookline Housing Authority, or BHA. But it wasn't until May of 2012 that a unit was finally available. 7 years. The time period between that December night in 2003 to the moment we moved into BHA in May of 2012 was not an easy one at all, but all the sacrifices, the pain, and the struggle was worth it. When we moved into BHA, for the first time in my life, I had my own room. We felt like a normal family for the first time ever. We were safe, which is why I've always said public housing changed our lives. While we did our best to take care of our beautiful home in BHA, conditions began to deteriorate beyond what maintenance could handle. Work orders became more and more backed up, roaches and mice were showing up more frequently, and we even had mold that was ruining the walls in our bathroom. The floor tiles started to unstick to the point that we could lift them like they had never been glued to the floor at all. You could see this in the Boston Globe and State House News because they were in my house. We decided that if maintenance wasn't going to show up, we would pay out of pocket to address maintenance issues in our BHA apartment. To this day, work orders continue to be backed up, and the issues keep getting worse. I'm so grateful to public housing for the safety and the security that it provided to me, my family, and so many families like mine. But public housing across Massachusetts is not up to code. Our buildings are old. Decades of underfunding housing have only made the issues worse when it could have been preventable. We at GBIO have been working with the director of BHA. He says there is no money. The funding that's on the table will preserve the critical resource for so many families with stories like mine across Massachusetts. We don't deserve to live with roaches and mice in our homes. We don't deserve to live with garbage in our halls, mold in our bathrooms, and floor tiles that aren't even glued to the floor properly. We don't deserve to breathe in toxic chemicals from our old apartment buildings, or risk tripping and breaking a bone over stairs that are cracking. We don't deserve windows falling over our heads just because it got a little windy and the window panels can't stay in the window. We are living in unsafe and unsanitary conditions. I am here because of faith. I am a proud resident of public housing, and I care about taking care of my home. I have faith that our elected leaders will fight with us. To make our housing goals a reality. Because public housing is precious. It is a vital, life-saving resource that we must fight to preserve for all, because no one deserves to have housing insecurity, and everyone deserves to have a healthy, happy, dignified home. Thank you. And now, I'll pass the mic over to Tim Smith, who will tell us his public housing story.
Good evening, representatives, and good evening, church. It's good to see everybody out there. My name is Tim Smith, and I want to thank our friend and my friend Carlos for sharing his story. We appreciate that he's speaking for a lot of residents in similar situations in over 40,000 state-funded public housing developments across the state, across the Commonwealth, including those in this very district. And I think he mentioned that in this district, there are 1,245 units. Units sounds very detached. These are apartments. This is where people live. I've been a Hyde Park resident for 12 years, a constituent of representing Consalvo, and I'm a member of GBIO and St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Brookline. I'm also an architect who's worked with public housing authorities and their residents for more than 30 years. And I've seen a lot of what Carlos depicted, and that depicts and confirms so much of what I witnessed, mostly due to the lack of adequate dollars to fix what needs to be fixed. You saw the pictures. I had a list of things I was going through. I don't think I need to. But I think that even in a professional, as a professional architect going through these units, it was impossible not to be moved that people actually, this is where people lived. We're not talking about plumbing, but we are talking about plumbing. We're talking about people's livelihoods. We're talking about people's health. We're talking about where people's, they live and their homes. But the biggest trouble I had or the biggest problem I had as an architect was that there was never enough money to do the right thing. And that is to stop the deterioration, to stop these buildings from falling apart and falling into disrepair. We've worked with housing policy partners like CHAPA and understood that the total need for long-term capital improvements is about $8.5 billion. And when you account for labor, bidding laws in Massachusetts, code compliance costs, and the rising cost of materials, yes, it's a huge number. But it's necessary if we're to save one of Massachusetts' most unique and critical housing resources. A long history of underfunding these developments has taken its toll. We are letting conditions get so bad that housing authority staff have sometimes been forced to shutter and board up deficient apartments at a time when the need is the greatest it's ever been. We believe that state-funded public housing deserves the funding it needs to survive. The governor's forward-looking bond bill takes a big step. GBIO was influential in raising the public housing long-term capital funds from $600 million to $1.6 billion. That's $1 billion worth of impact. This is one of the major items that GBIO cares about most in the housing bond bill. We can't wait. The housing authorities need the resources, and residents need our help. Thank you. I'd like to turn this back to Sister Hyacinth.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Wow, we have heard a lot tonight. Okay, and so we have just heard about public housing, the real estate transfer fee. Both of these are in the housing bond bill. Thanks to GBIO who asked for it and stood up to make sure it was passed. GBIO? So, all right. Now, let me see the hands of those who were there on June 26, 2023 at Temple Israel, 1,400 strong. Let me see your hands. All right? Okay, we were all there. We met with Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll and the Boston Housing Secretary Augustus, and they listened to us. And tonight we are here, and guess what? We have $1.6 billion for public housing and a real estate transfer fee. Thank you guys, thank you. So, thanks to the hard work of GBIO, let me hear you say in one united voice, GBIO, GBIO, GBIO. So tonight, reps, I hope we're not scaring you. We get we get a little loud sometimes, but you know, we work together, and it's for the, yeah, it is. And I really want to thank God for this GBIO group. So no, tonight I have a few easy questions. They're not going to be too hard. Tonight we want to know from our legislators, will you commit to vote yes on the Housing Bond Bill, otherwise known as the Affordable Home Act? And I will start with my dear Representative Rob Consalvo. Will you vote yes on this bill?
So let me just say that I appreciate the testimony from the folks tonight. We have the housing bond bill. I serve on the housing committee, so that bill is going to have a thorough review. by the committee members, and it should have a public process where it has a public hearing where I hope GBIO will come and testify at that public hearing to be a part of the process. And in full transparency, right? We want a bill to go before the public, to have a public hearing, so people from all over the Commonwealth can weigh in on that bill. But let me just say that, I support the transfer fee. I'm a lead co-sponsor with Representative Brandy Fluker-Oakley of the transfer fee, and was at the announcement with the mayor. I have 3 public housing developments in my district: Archdale, Washington Beach, and the Fairmount Housing Development, which is a state-funded housing development, and I have been a champion for Fairmount and the developments in my district from my time as a city councilor. So absolutely will support that funding for capital repairs and public housing. And at the end of the day, we know how important the bond bill is. I can't see any of us not voting for it. So of course, at the end of the day, we will support a bond bill that will get back to the governor that can address these needs. Got to have a hearing, got to have a public process. We'll have amendments. I look forward to hearing ideas from all of you about amendments that we can make the bill stronger. But I look forward to voting for a bill that we can send to the governor for her signature that's going to address your issues, these issues, and other issues.
Thank you so much, Representative Rob Consalvo. Thank you so much for caring for the people of the community. And now I'll go to Representative McMurtry.
Sure. All righty. Well, thank you. And I guess I can echo the sentiments of our dear friend here, Rob Consalvo. Look, we have all afford a incredible working relationship with Lieutenant Governor Driscoll and Governor Maura Healey. So this is a priority of hers. Much of the work that she put into the bond bill was from the efforts of advocacy groups like GBIO and others. So we know there's a housing crisis. We hear those stories time and time again, like Carlos shared with us, of individuals that are on the waiting list. There's a housing need, and they're on the waiting list for 5, 6, 8, 10 years. So I'm going to do my part and work with my colleagues in the House and Senate and with the administration to make sure that these priorities are met.
So that's a yes. Yeah. Well,
I'm sure by the end of the night you'll have me at a yes.
All right, well, we're going to hold you as a yes, okay? Because I know you know the importance of housing for your people in the constituent. All right, now, I know Representative McGregor.
So I think I'm not as well eloquent as both of these guys, because as I mentioned, I'm new, but I'm trying to figure it all out. But I think we all know that we need more housing. We definitely need more housing. My aide, Michael, and I were talking about the housing bond bill today, and I think one thing that we love about it is there's going to be, I think, $800 million towards affordable housing by 2030. The governor's goal is to have 200,000 more units by 2030. I think that's amazing if we can get that.
For that. That's
so
awesome.
That's something I support. The transfer tax fee, I do support. And of course, to echo what Representative Consalvo was saying, like, really just appreciate everything that we heard from everyone. It's important to hear these things. When I worked in the city council, I do remember how hard it was for people trying to get into public housing. I do know that they have people that are homeless are prioritized, which they should, but to wait 7 years is not right. So, yeah, thank you.
So that's a yes, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, all right. No, I know I heard the transfer fee, but I'm going to ask a direct question. So last but not least, we're asking you to support specific priorities in the bond bill, okay? For example, we are asking you to support legislation that allows real estate transfer fee, since this will definitely make a big difference in our community for affordable housing. So will you vote yes on a bond bill that contains real estate transfer fee legislation? Governor Healey is already on board, and now it's your turn to pass this bill and make a difference in our community. Because remember, everyone deserves Okay, so will you vote yes or no on a bond bill that includes transfer fee? You have 2 minutes to answer this one.
I always love when I can say yes twice. on an issue. Again, I'm a lead co-sponsor with with Representative Brandy Fluker-Oakley on the transfer fee. I think the mayor's bill is a really good bill. I was honored to support her. I showed up and was at the announcement that the mayor gave last spring, where she filed the home rule petition. So I am a supporter of the transfer fee, and certainly would support a bond bill that included a transfer fee in it.
Yay! Thank you so much. Okay, and so Representative Mercury, could you please respond to this question?
Sure. First of all, I appreciate that this is a component of the housing bond bill, because having some extra tools in the toolbox as a local option is something that's beneficial. So, and I will say, I come from a district of some fairly wealthy individuals. Those individuals who help support the millionaire's tax, that money is going to go into transportation and education, they came to me and said, actually, we should be paying more. So I don't think they're going to mind, sharing that pot. And I think, again, it takes organizations like GBIO and individuals of that high wealth coming together to say, let's do our part to make a difference and redirect lives. So I appreciate that that's a component of it, and having a local option is an additional tool for my communities to utilize putting money towards public housing.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you. And now, Representative McGregor, please respond.
Just remember Conor McGregor. I'm just.
Okay, Tom McGregor. Okay.
I've been called a lot of things, so it's fine. But I'm a lot nicer than him. I will be supportive of the transfer tax bill. Because I think, the fee, because it's going to bring in more affordable housing, which is what we need.
All right. Thank you. I want to thank you, Reps, for your response, for your support for our community, for more affordable housing and public housing. And we look forward to working with you in the future. God bless you all.
Hi again. I have a few additional questions.
It's always scary when you have multiple pages.
All right. Will you vote yes on a bond bill that contains at least $1.6 billion for state-funded public housing? And will you advocate with leadership to make sure that this is in the bill? Rep. Consalvo.
Sure, yeah.
2 minutes.
Happy to, 2 minutes? And I think I had 18 seconds from my previous time, so I'm going to talk for 2 minutes and 18 seconds this time. And these guys all went over at the podium, so we get to go over too. So, no, I'm just kidding. Look, as I said earlier, I have 3 public housing developments in my district, Fairmount being a state-funded housing development. As a Boston City Councilor and now as a state legislator, I've been a champion for, and you can ask the leaders in all 3 developments, have been a champion for public housing. When I took my job with Marty Walsh, when I left the City Council, I was honored to run the Boston Home Center and work under the leadership of Chief Dillon, Sheila Dillon, who's the nation's premier expert on housing. We led the efforts around affordable housing, money for public housing, advocating money for home ownership, which is an important part of this discussion, protecting renters. So these are all things that I support. And certainly I live literally a block away from the Fairmount development, so my neighbors and friends who live in Fairmount deserve quality, modern, safe, warm, and dry public housing to live in the Fairmount development.
Thank you.
And so I will advocate as strong as I can. I think one of the things we'll be looking at is that what does the revenue picture look like, right? What's happening? All of these issues are revenue dependent, and I know it's a bond bill, so that's another particular piece of it. So I'm glad this young lady in the back shouted out, we will be at the hearing. I can't urge you strong enough to come to the hearing before the Housing Committee that I'm on and let our committee know these issues and how they're important to Boston. Be issue specific about the Fairmount development and the Brookline development. These are critically important issues, so it's important that you have a voice. It's important that all my constituents have a voice. It's important that people have a voice during this public hearing process to come say what your priorities are. So I support public housing, and I will advocate as strongly as I can to make sure that this bond bill contains enough money to support the public housing needs in the Commonwealth.
Thank you so much. All right, Rep. McMurtry, where do you stand at this time? Yes or no? 2 minutes.
All right, 2 minutes. You can tell this gentleman's comfortable in his own district there with his responses. So, actually, no, I appreciate it. And again, I'm sitting on this couch with two incredible colleagues, and I'm proud to be here alongside them. Look, at the one thing that I will say is that housing is not only a priority for GBIO, it's a priority for us in the legislature, it's a priority for Mayor Wu, it's a priority for Governor Healy, it's a priority for our federal partners. It's an issue that's been raised and brought to a level of attention that it deserves. So hopefully we can find a path to not the status quo anymore, not having people on wait lists for 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, but redefining the needs and the resources and putting them to good use so that we can give people, as Rob just said, Representative Consalvo, a safe and affordable and place to call home. So again, I support all of these initiatives and principle and do what I can to work with leadership. It's an interesting comment to say that, working with leadership, because we're one of 160 in the House of Representatives, and we work with our colleagues, whether it's the Speaker of the House, the Majority Leader, the Chair of Ways and Means, but all three of us have incredible relationships with them, and we're going to work hard to make sure we can deliver to the citizens of the Commonwealth.
Thank you so much. So that's a yes from you?
Is it a yes from me? Well, I like the governor, so it's hard for me to say no. So.
Well, I just want to say, and if it's not a yes right now, we absolutely look forward to working with you to get a strong, bold yes. And each and every one of us at GBIO, our hearts and our homes are open to you anytime. And then finally, Representative McGregor. Yes, no, 2 minutes, why?
So, this is in regards to increasing public housing, right? State public housing. Funding for state public housing.
So the question is, will you vote yes on a bond bill that contains at least $1.6 billion for state-funded public housing, and will you work with leadership to advocate for that?
Okay. Okay, and I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't sure if it was capital improvements or if it was building or, and I appreciate that. Thank you for the clarification. And one thing that I'm lucky being the new guy is I always lean on both of these guys for on where to go. So I'm learning from them just even being up here. I think, as I mentioned, we need to increase supply. Economics 101, supply and demand. We need to increase supply. I am absolutely for increasing the budget for public housing.
Thank you. And so that's a yes to that question?
Yeah, yes, I think we definitely need to increase it. I don't know what is going to be proposed, but I like how it reads. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Rep. McGregor, thank you so much. And again, if it's not a strong, bold yes right now, all of our homes and our hearts are open to you for dialogue and for conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just covered the bond bill, including the real estate transfer fee and the $1.6 billion for public housing capital funding. We're on a roll. That covers the long term. These capital projects, major capital projects, can take years to come online, having been in the design and construction field, believe me. And that covers the long term. But the year-to-year budgets for public housing to maintain what we have now and to make improvements on what we have now from a maintenance standpoint We need adequate year-to-year operating budgets for housing authorities so they can hire enough staff to maintain these buildings and improve conditions for the residents. Currently, the levels of funding in the public housing operating budget are wholly inadequate to reverse the trend of physical decline of state-funded public housing. It was $92 million at the beginning of this year. We've talked about the need, $8.5 billion, $92 million at the beginning of this year, and we need at least $189 million according to our research with CHAPA. With the help of some of you here, it was raised to $107 million, but even that isn't enough. That's why we're supporting the budget going forward to be at least $189 million in the next fiscal year to start making meaningful improvements to preserve this valuable resource for the benefit of the citizens who live there. I'll pass it off to Carlos again to make the asks. He's so good.
Thank you so much. I'm back. Will you commit to supporting and voting yes for at least $189 million in the fiscal year 2025 operating budget for public housing? And will you commit to speaking to House and Senate leadership about it? Please answer yes or no, and why. 2 minutes, Rep. Consalvo.
You just said take my 2 minutes. So let me just say, let's not to minimize, by the way, the $107 million that the House approved for operating for public housing authorities. That was an historic investment by the House of Representatives to put forth in that budget. And it shouldn't be minimized, and it shouldn't be looked lightly, given what we know are our capital needs, and I totally understand that. And this is the reality of legislating, right? And so that was an historic investment. And I started thinking we had more time at the beginning to say that the House has really done, and it's important that you hear this, even more historic investments. The past 3 budgets, and I think the leaders in this room who know will admit that the House of Representatives budget put the most money ever for housing at any time in the history of the Commonwealth. And that includes funding, as I tried to say before, of our MRVP program, our RAFT program, home base, funding for places like the Boston Home Center for home ownership. The House in the fiscal 24 budget has never seen the historic levels of funding. And that's great because we've seen a good revenue and increased revenue. I think all of us here, and I'll speak for my colleagues, if there was a budget before us that was at $189 million for operating budget, absolutely would support it. Here's the reality, though, just to keep in mind, and this is where you need to, where we're going to have discussions. That kind of a budget appropriation versus a bond bill, just for the education piece here, is based on what revenue is available. And I think many of you know that, but some might not. Bond bills are different, right? Bond bills are done through the bonding process where we leverage our strong bond rating to bring money back to the capital for infrastructure. Operating costs are separate, and bonding can't be used for operating, and operating can't be used for bonding. And so the operating money is revenue dependent. Now, we just heard, and this is where I will go over because this is important, we just heard that the revenue benchmarks for the 3 of the last 4 years in Massachusetts have not met their benchmarks. That's an important thing. That's a scary thing to think about. 3 of the last 4 months, we have not met the benchmarks for our revenue. So we're going to be watching November closely. We're going to be watching December closely. We're going to be watching January closely. And interestingly, we're the only state in New England that hasn't met their benchmarks. So we're trying to get an understanding of why the sudden shift in Massachusetts might just be a blip on the radar screen. I would urge you all to keep tabs on that because as you're advocating for this operating money, it is dependent on the revenue. And look, that's the reality. If we don't have the tax dollars, it's not just that 189 number that might not make it. It might be cuts to existing earmarks we've given to programs across our districts and other important things. So we need to keep our eye on the ball on that. We want to work with you in keeping you updated where our revenue benchmarks are. I think we would all say yes if we can if the revenues continue to maintain and we have funding and it reaches $189 million, and certainly we can advocate for that, then of course. But I do just want to be clear. You'll read it in the newspaper. You've already heard it from the speaker. 3 of our last 4 months, we haven't reached benchmarks. We just need to make sure we have the revenue to do that, and these kind of operating issues are revenue dependent.
Thank you, Rep. Consalvo, but you'll do everything you can to at least try to advocate for that. Is that correct?
Happy to continue to be a champion and advocate.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, and Rep. McMurtry, same question. Will you commit to supporting and voting yes for at least $189 million in the fiscal year 2025 operating budget for public housing? And will you commit to speaking to House and Senate leadership about it? Please answer yes or no and why. 2 minutes.
Again, just based on, as Representative Consalvo said, the life of a legislator, we were just at a recent meeting that with leadership that they said the revenue numbers are not there. So I don't want to be disingenuous to say I would commit to it, and if we don't have that money, not be able to fulfill it. What I am excited about and appreciate is that you have come together, have brought us here to advocate, to continue to prioritize these needs. There's a lot of competing interests, with education, with transportation. And again, it's worth repeating that housing is a priority across the board, from our leadership in the legislature to the administration and the governor's office to our partners in the federal government. So I'll continue to do what I can to make sure that we can maximize that. We know there's a system that's broken that has to be corrected. Can't be status quo anymore. We have to have more creative ways to get better results.
Thank you so much. And just to clarify, you'll do everything you can to make that a reality, Rep. McMurtry?
You said something, Carlos, that I have to tell you, I'm a legislator like the two gentlemen that I'm sitting in between, based on compassion, and my heart's in this 100%. So every day when I go to work as a state representative, I do my best to deliver my best and exceed expectations. So I will continue to do whatever I can to make sure that these priorities are met.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And lastly, Rep. McGregor, same question. Will you commit to supporting and voting yes for at least $189 million in the fiscal year 2025 for the state-funded public housing? And will you commit to speaking to House and Senate leadership about it? Yes or no? Why? 2 minutes.
So, and I actually really appreciate Representative Consalvo going over. Not to take my time, but more or less, it was very well detailed, and he said it very well. We have to use the money that we have. The migrant issue, we don't know where that's going to be next year. We don't know if that's going to affect the money. I would love to see $189 million for capital improvements to public housing. I absolutely would. If we can get to that, absolutely. I'm just being realistic, just due to where we are right now, and that's why I really appreciate both of these guys for just being honest with you guys. Obviously, I was going to be honest with you, but they detailed it for you. So yes, I absolutely would love to see it increase. I know a few years ago, and Representative Consalvo was actually updating me on this a few days ago. I think it was 75 million, and then went to 80-something million, and then 107 million. So we are moving in the right direction, and I am proud to support us continuing to increase that funding.
Thank you so much. And again, you'll do your best to get to 189?
Yes, and you asked me if I was going to speak to House and Senate leadership. I won't talk to Senate leadership because I have not talked to them yet.
Okay.
That's how new I am.
That's fine.
But I will absolutely talk to House leadership.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Hello, everyone. Now we will transition to some of the unique challenges facing people coming home from prison as they search for housing. We will hear more about that from Mr. James Barnes.
First of all, I'd like to say I'm James Barnes, and I'm a Hyde Park church resident up here, and I want to talk about my return to citizen. I got sentenced to 15 in life at the age of 22. I did 34 years. I did 34 years in prison. I got sentenced 15 life, and I'm doing 34 years. I just got out March 30th, 7 months ago. And during that journey, They was telling me that I was gonna get a ID, birth certificate, social security card. When I got it, I did not get that. I had to get it on my own. And it took me exactly 2 months to get a mass ID. And I wanted to get a job, but I couldn't get a job without ID. So I had to go to a program. I had to go get to a program to get this job. But at the same time, you know, as I sat and wait, you know, I felt vulnerable. Didn't know what to do, or anything of if I'm going to get a job without ID, whatever the case may be. But as the journey I was taking in my life, I know I made a mistake in my life, but I made it out. The only way to get out of prison, you have successful parole, and I got that because I did everything I was supposed to do. Now that I'm home, it's still a struggle. You know what I mean? It's still a struggle, looking for housing, you know what I'm saying? But if I didn't have family and friends, I work in Pine Street. And if I didn't have a job down there, I'd be homeless also. You know what I mean? And this has come out into the free world itself. Losing your mother, your father, your grandparents, whoever the case may be, those that you love. And being the youngest out of 7 boys. You know what I'm saying? And just to come back here in the free world again, it's like I said, the journey's still hard. And the job that I like to have, a biohazard, I did OSHA. These are the jobs I like to get involved in. But, like I said, it's the Corey itself. You know what I mean? And if you understand the process of life, a journey that you take and trying to understand what's going on, you come back out in the free world, try to do things that are right. Then they talk about the recidivism. If you don't get a job, people go back to the old self, to the streets, selling drugs, doing God's know what. But if you don't have the mindset the way I have, to be a strong individual, to do things that's right, send a positive level, no matter what kind of obstacles you face, you got to make it better for yourself. And they talk about all the resources that we have out here. There's only one resource I went to, it's called ATR, that was out in downtown South Boston. You know, they give you a $500 certificate to buy your clothes or whatever the case may be. And other resources I went to, it was like, you got to go to this like your charity case. I don't want to be a charity case. I want somebody that's going to help me out, to put me on my feet and let me do the things I need to do and get into the working field. And like I said, it was kind of hard for me to do so. Until still this day, like I said, if I didn't have family and friends, I don't know where I would be. So I'm asking y'all, you know, to put up and do the things you're supposed to do for the guys that's coming out of prison, the IDs, birth certificates, social security card. So when they leave out the door, they have these things, and they have a place where they can go get jobs, instead of running back to the old self in society, which is not good. You know what I mean? And I feel, as a returning citizen, like I said, you know, it's a struggle for everybody that don't understand it. But when you spend all this time in prison and you lose all your loved ones, it's kind of hard. You fight it, you go through the struggles, you try to understand it. But you have a heavy heart. But at the same time, you know, you got to pick yourself up, pick your head up. There'll be a lot of obstacles you're going to have to face and a lot of challenges. And when you face these challenges, face them head on. Just don't give up. And I haven't gave up yet.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Mr. Barnes. I'm so sorry that you had to go through something like that, and hopefully it changes tonight. Before I move forward, though, I would like to say thank you to the House of Representatives for taking time out of your busy schedule for being here tonight. But I also want to thank everyone for also taking time out of their busy schedule to be here tonight. My name is Sharita Dawson, and I am a leader from GBIO. I'm also GBIO. I am also a member at Union Capital Boston, and I'm so happy to be here tonight. I'm here to talk about the issues surrounding the IDs and voucher for returning citizens like Mr. Barnes. To sum it all up, our bill will make sure that everyone walks out of prison with an ID and don't have to go through what Mr. Barnes did. I'm so sorry again. And our voucher bill will also create more housing vouchers for people coming home from prisons alongside case management so they can get a real second chance, a second chance that they truly deserve. Now I have two questions for you. My first question is, can we, the people, rely on you to vote yes on Oath 23626, which will require prisons and jails to provide IDs for people before they leave prisons? Also, can we, the people, depend on you to vote yes on Oath 1362, which would issue state housing vouchers for returning citizens-led organizations like Justice for Housing to house formerly incarcerated people? Please answer yes or no to both questions and explain why. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks to both of these speakers as well. I was grateful that Tim and my friend Tim and other leaders of GBIO came to my office and we met and we talked about these bills. And they are specific bills, they have specific bill numbers. I don't know if they've both had hearings yet. That was a question I wanted to ask. They haven't had hearings yet? Neither of them? But they haven't had their hearing yet? Okay, so again, to the idea, I was really intrigued by that when Tim first brought it up in our meeting and the advocates brought it up. And I took a look at the bill and I think, yes, that's a bill I could support after it's had a public hearing and that the public has had a chance to weigh in on it. I think the public has that right. Every bill should have a public hearing, and we want to continue to be the most transparent house that everybody can have an opportunity to weigh in on a bill. When we talked with all the advocates that day in my office, I also am really intrigued by the idea of the voucher bill. Representative Montano, I think she's the lead sponsor of it. After we left that meeting, I did have an opportunity to read the bill. It's a little bit of a lengthy bill in terms of the language, and it's got a lot of details. So while I'm still very much intrigued and open by it, I have so many questions after reading the bill that I want another meeting with the folks from GBIO so I can figure out some of the questions I have. So I probably won't say yes or no today because I think I'd love to be at that hearing and hear what the testimony has and who's going to testify in favor of it, who's going to testify in opposition. But the idea of making sure that returning citizens have IDs, that we can cut that red tape and that bureaucracy, and that he doesn't have to go through that again, so he can begin to rebuild his life and do the things he needs to do to enter society. Absolutely, I love that idea. Look forward to that public hearing. I think I could be a yes on the other bill. I have a lot of questions after reading it. Very intrigued to hear the hearing by the experts who are going to come in and advocates to talk about it. So I'd say right now I'm sort of undecided until I get a little more information and my questions can be answered. Because I'm not a lawyer. That's one thing I'll tell you. Everyone says, you're a politician. I say, no, I'm not. I'm a public servant. There's a difference. And I tell everybody I'm also not a lawyer. So I was reading those whereases today and all those lines. And I said, I got a lot of questions. And the devil's in the details, but I am interested in the idea. If experts like GBO says it's a good idea and constituents who advocate to me, there are many bills that I voted for that I was not a yes or no until I learned about them. And I can tell you that supporting driver's license for undocumented individuals, it was advocates from Rosendale and Hyde Park who made the case for me on that bill, and I was proud to support that bill. Rosendale constituents and advocates asking me to not support any more women's prisons construction in the Commonwealth, no more prisons, and I voted for that. No cost calls. These were all things that I learned from my constituents. So you're not a no, and it's okay that you're not a yes, and I feel this is one that I need a little more info on so I can be educated and look forward to having that conversation.
All right, thank you so much.
Alrighty, James, first of all, I appreciate the courage and for you to come up on this stage and share your personal story. And I also appreciate the fact that, you said you made some mistakes in life, you paid the price, but now you want to go on with a new beginning. So one of the things that I find fascinating about the role that we have in government is that as individuals, Representative Consalvo, Representative McGregor, myself, we can't do anything on our own, but collectively government can. And that's where we all should come together to make a difference. Government has to be the resource to get you to a yes, to get you to those IDs, to give you those resources that you need to re-enter a society and have a productive life and a new beginning. So again, as Representative Consalvo said, I appreciate the concept and the principle and what's behind that. And when you were speaking, the representative leaned over to me and said, why don't we have something sort of an outtake package? And maybe they do, but again, here's a situation that we need to look into, and we can advocate for that to make sure that individuals that are coming back to re-enter society, to want to be productive citizens, have the resources they need from government agencies. So we can continue to advocate for that, and that's what I'll do.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
And I will say, as a representative just briefly alluded to, and I'm sorry, I know he took our entire 6 minutes, but yeah, the House and all of us sitting on this couch did vote recently for inmates to have no-cost calls out. I mean, so we had in 2022, inmates had to pay to make a phone call to loved ones. So there's criminal justice reform, social justice reform. Things are happening, and it's happening because of individuals like each and every one of you sitting here tonight and organizations like GBIO. So keep up the good work, and we're going to continue to do the best we can on your behalf.
Mr. McGregor?
Thank you, and I really appreciate your story and you sharing with us. I definitely. It's good to hear from someone that's going through the struggles, just like we heard from Carlos in public housing. So it was really, I appreciate you having the courage to come up and talk to us. And and it's horrible to hear that it took you 2 months to get an ID. So I think we have to make it as easy as possible for people to get back into society. And I absolutely support the mass IDs. You should get one when you're walking out. And I agree with Representative. And I agree with Representative Consalvo and Representative McMurtry. There should be like a take-home package or something where you can learn about jobs when you come out. I don't know what could be, like a career center or something, but. In regards to the other bill, as I have mentioned several times to you, I am very new. There's about 6,000 or 7,000 bills. 7,000 bills. And I do know that this is a priority for GBIO. I do need more information on it. It's something that I could get to. I do, and I mentioned that in my meeting prior with GBIO, but I think it's something that I could be supportive of. I just want to hear from the public. I want to hear testimony, and just, obviously, Representative Consalvo mentioned it's a long bill, so I just want to see what's in it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you so much for your support. And I just have to say, my colleague just informed me that we did at a public hearing for the yes, and that GBIO was in fact present for that public hearing.
And by the way, I've read all 7,000 bills, just so you know. No, I haven't. I'm kidding.
Show off.
I'm only joking. Could we get a copy of GBIO's testimony on that? And any other, we can reach out to the chair, and he'll send us the testimony, but if GBIO could send us their testimony, that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Now I'm going to pass it on to Sister Lillian.
So, gentlemen, everybody, I want to thank you all for coming, our hardworking, as you guys have been saying, our hardworking state representatives and their constituents who have gathered here. And, this is what democracy is about. The people talking to their leaders, trying to come to an understanding about what we're trying to do. So again, I want to thank the reps that are up here. I want to thank the people in the audience. And my job is to sum up the commitments. I have a legislative scorecard. So, Senator Rush, with regard to, I'm sorry. My bad, I'm sorry. No. Senator Rush, with regard to this, what do you say? Couldn't make it. Senator Rush. So I apologize for that. But so Rep. Consalvo, with this scorecard, with regards to a yes or no on the bond bill, the overall bond bill, you, again, lean towards a yes. So I'm just going to say yes. It's the governor's bond bill.
No, I said yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, listen,
I
those
do
were
want to
some
just have a
leans.
caveat
Wait,
that we did
those were
explain why.
leans. Those were leans.
You know, we
But
did
anyway,
explain
so-
why, what's the
so,
final number going to be, and we would advocate for it, but yes.
Okay.
That's, can I just say, that's why the nuance of that is important. And we had that conversation when GBIO met in my office about why we need, and I thank you for giving us that opportunity to explain that, because it's really important to understand the nuance about how you get to where you are legislating.
So, with regard to the real estate transfer fee,
I'm all in.
you're all in. Specifically, I know there's an overall bond bill, but we're mainly interested in two key components of that bill: the 1.6 billion for the public housing capital budget, and the real estate transfer fee. So, with regard to the 1.6 billion, again, you guys said yes, but contingent on, like, you know, the public hearing, how it goes, or just a straight up yes.
Yeah, no, I think what we said, I mean, I'm going to speak for myself. What I said was that it hasn't had a hearing yet, right? And I'm on the committee. So I owe it to the committee and to my job and to the process to have a thoughtful and transparent public process. We will do that. And then what I said was, yes, if this is a bill that contains, what's the number, 1.6 billion?
1.6 billion.
Of course I would support that.
Okay.
And then you asked, would we advocate for that? And of course, as someone who's a supporter of public housing, we will advocate. You know, will it be that number? Time will tell. We're going to have a hearing. There will be amendments. I'm hoping you all will come forward with really interesting amendments you want us to hopefully file to make the bill stronger and better. And then we get a bill that we're all happy with to the governor's desk.
So, and with regard to the 189 million for the public housing operating budget, again, that was depending on what the revenue numbers
You
are.
asked about would we support that and would we advocate for that. The answer is yes. We did have a caveat, just to be transparent, that revenues have declined. We've not met benchmarks in 3 out of 4 months, and that any number in the budget of all the things we care about are all revenue dependent. So if we're not meeting benchmarks, we don't know what that number is. But you asked, would we support that number and would we advocate? The answer is yes.
Okay. So, with regard to returning citizens receiving IDs upon leaving the correctional institution, I think you voted yes. You would be behind that. With the housing vouchers, and I'm clear on this, so I'm not taking no pushback. Your thing is that you need more information, you need to study the bill, you like the public hearings, you like to see who was for the bill, you know, who was against it. So I can't say yes on that one.
That's
But
not a
again,
yes, but I'm keeping an open mind, but it's
Yep.
not a no.
Okay,
So
so
that's a
all right,
fair
I like
statement
that.
to say.
That is a very fair statement. So, Rep. McMurtry.
All righty, you won't have to go and itemize everything because I'll make it easy for you. First of all, I do want to say thank you for thanking us. It's not too often we're thanked, and again, it is democracy in action. So I'm super grateful. In how effective democracy works is through respectful dialogue, and it has certainly been an incredibly respectful evening. And I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for being here and for the individuals sharing the personal stories. So, rather than itemizing everything, I am leaning towards yes on everything, and I welcome the continued conversation, whether it's Dr. Kaplan or individuals at the district I represent, to continue to share the stories, to continue to advocate so that we can deliver and be the best Commonwealth we can be.
Thank you very much. So, Bill McGregor is my guy. He's my rep. I'm in his district, so.
Oh, me? Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
So you're my guy.
I missed what rep
Yeah.
it was. Sorry.
So, no, you're my guy, so let's hear from you.
And I think with my colleagues, I'm leaning yes on everything, if not a yes. So for some, I will need a little bit more information, but Yes, I'm leaning yes on, as I've said. And I just want to thank you all. As Chairman McMurtry mentioned, you all have been very respectful and been really great to us. And we appreciate this time with you. And it's great to hear from you all and hear the personal stories as well, which was actually very impactful. So thank you all for having us. And as I mentioned, I'm leaning yes.
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to say that too. I want to echo my colleagues' comments.
Too late.
No, I had what, 14 seconds left? I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank GBIO for putting this on. This was a great conversation. Thank you for letting us have time to explain some of the nuances. You know, governing is technical, and legislating can be technical. And so to have that opportunity to say that, it was really appreciative. And just for being here and coming to our district and to my district, I'm thrilled that you chose my district to come to do this. And just can't thank GBIO enough, not just for this meeting, but for the years of work you've done and on the many issues that we've all supported and worked on together and that we will continue to do. We can't thank GBIO enough, even just for coming to the office to kind of talk about it beforehand and talk through the bills and understanding that process. So, and to the individual constituents, the line of the night by far was this gentleman who spoke first, who said, "I never asked for anything, but tonight I'm asking." He gets the line of the night. And the only thing I would add to that is keep asking, right? Not just this bill. Call when you have a constituent service issue, whether it's an issue with DCR or an unemployment check or a pothole or a street light in front of your house. Call and ask. That's what we're there for. When you want to advocate for other bills, call and ask. When you need help with anything that might be on the federal level and you need to make us a referral, the legislating is one side. The constituent service is 50% of everything else we do. So that really struck me when you said, "I've never asked." And whenever constituents say that to me, I say, why? Call and ask, because we're here to serve. We're here to make sure that we're your voice in state government and city and town government, and that we can be a resource at the end of the day to help you solve your problems. When people ask me what I'm most proud of in my first 3 years, it is all the bills that I've worked on. But one of the things I'm most proud of is the literally thousands of constituent service cases and I didn't recognize my aide Emily before and everyone else did. Emily is a fantastic legislative aide that she's working on all these cases. So if you take away one other thing tonight, please call and ask.
Thank you. So this is the beginning of our conversation, everybody, and we know, like with the answers, we got support. We're having these district meetings like with other reps around the state, the greater Boston area. And so our work is beginning. We're still at it. We got other things coming up. You all, with a package on your seat, had what we're calling the in-district meeting commitment card. And this commitment is a card for you to, check that you will follow up with your legislatures, that you will, remind them of what they said here tonight. We're probably going to have another action in March as we get closer to the budget and things are winding down. And again, we'll get you that information. We're counting on your support. We the people, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we're counting on you guys. We thank you for all the hard work we do, and we really do appreciate it. Can we have a round of applause? So I have an announcement to make. Today is a birthday for Shayo. He's one of the organizers here. And we are going to have cake in the basement. This was new to me, but I love cake. And so I am passing it off to Gary, and he is going to tell you about the GBIO Impact Fund and your opportunity to help support GBIO continue to do the great work that it does. Thank you all.
Hello, my name is Gary Kaplan, and I will start to close us out. And I want to thank everyone for participating tonight. We have 85 people in the house. And we will follow up with each of you on some of the uncertain answers, and we look forward to that. I am a member of Temple Beth Zion and a resident, woo, and a resident of the town of Westwood, woo, where my representative is Paul McMurtry. Yay. I am here to speak about the GBIO Impact Fund, which supports the operations of GBIO. The reason that I have given to the Impact Fund over the years is because GBIO provides us with a local source of hope, inspiration, and positive action even in the darkness of our larger world today. At GBIO and through the Impact Fund, we can make a difference in people's lives through all the local issues we talked about tonight, like affordable housing, returning citizens justice, and our campaign for accessible quality mental health in our local communities. There are 4 ways to give. Okay, 1, go to the GBIO website, gbio.org, and donate online. 2, make a donation tonight by cash or check. My friend Faith is in the back of the sanctuary with a basket to collect your gifts. 3, go home and write a big check, as big a check as you can, to the GBIO Impact Fund. We have envelopes with the GBIO return address that Hope will give you on the way out. Pick one up. And 4, use the QR code on your commitment cards and make a donation through that. All the gifts of any size strengthen GBIO. Gifts are tax deductible, and thank you very much. Now I would like to welcome Rabbi Dan Slipikoff from Temple, Israel, to move us into the closing prayer. Rabbi?
Appreciate it. Thank you, Gary. Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Rabbi Dan Slipikoff from Temple, Israel of Boston. I'm a citizen of West Roxbury, a constituent of Representative McGregor. Do you have fun tonight? Yeah. Feel like doing a little more? That's what I thought. You can see next to you, everyone's got a card, a commitment card. Take a moment, fill it out, find the next way you can take another step with GBIO. If we're going to get this over the line, it's going to take a little bit more from each and every one of us. When I listened to everyone this evening, my brave brothers and sisters here tonight sharing their stories, I heard a lot of stories about holes. Holes in ceilings and holes in floors. Holes in our state funding to make the desperately needed repairs. And holes and emptiness in the hearts of a lot of Boston citizens. What do we do as people of faith? We pray. Every night before we go to bed, before we tuck our children in at night, we pray. In my tradition, we pray for what's called a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace. That word shalom, salam, it means peace, but it also means whole, W-H-O-L-E, complete. And so tonight, we pray for feeling of wholeness. Source of blessing, help us to fill the holes in our hearts with hope and pride and dignity. Help us to fill our homes with light and love and much needed relief. And help to fill our representatives with determination and resolve to continue to work for your constituents and inspire your colleagues to do the same. May we feel whole. May we feel peace. And may we be strengthened by one another as we cry out from every pulpit and every polling place. You can say it with me. Everyone deserves a good night. God bless. And there's cake in the basement.